All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a massive question, and the answer is literally millions of years in the making. We're talking about one of the biggest demographic stories of our time.
So why? Why does India have more people than any other country on the planet? As we're about to see, the usual answers you hear, well, they don't even begin to tell the real story.
First, let's just try to wrap our heads around the numbers. We're talking about almost 1.5 billion people. Think about that. That's nearly 1 out of every 5 human beings on Earth, all living on just 2% of the world's land. It's a staggering figure, and it leads a lot of people to some pretty common conclusions.
You know, when this topic comes up, people usually point to a few things, right? Poverty, maybe lack of education, or the really high population density in places like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And look, those things definitely play a part in the modern story, but they're not the root cause, not even close. They don't explain why this specific part of the world has always been a population hotspot for thousands of years.
To get to the real answer, we have to think differently. It's not about modern economics or social policies. The real answer is way older, it's much bigger, and it's literally right there under our feet. The secret has always been geography. And this is the hero of our story, the Indo-Gangetic Plain. This isn't just a patch of land. You could argue it's the single most important geographical feature on the planet for understanding human population distribution. It's the reason 1.5 billion people call India home. So let's put this thing in perspective. The Indo-Gangetic Plain is this enormous, continuous belt of unbelievably fertile soil. It's huge, 700,000 square kilometers, and get this, nearly 900 million people live on it. That is more than the entire population of Europe, all living on one single plain. So how in the world did it get there? Well, the story starts about 50 million years ago. The landmass that is now India literally slammed into Asia. That collision was so powerful, it pushed up the Himalayas, the tallest mountains in the world. But it also did something else. It created a gigantic trench, a huge depression just south of those brand new mountains. Then, for millions and millions of years, rivers flowing down from the Himalayas just kept dumping silt and sediment into that basin, filling it up with this deep, nutrient-packed, perfectly flat soil. That soil is the foundation for everything. Okay, so we've established that India has this massive, fertile plain. But just how special is it, really? To get that, you have to see how it stacks up against other famous cradles of civilization around the world. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at the North China Plain, another huge population center. It's big, but it's just over half the size of India's plain. And then look at Egypt's Nile Valley, the lifeblood of an ancient empire, right? It's barely 5% the size of the Indo-Gangetic Plain. The amount of prime real estate for farming that India was gifted is just on another level. And this just brilliantly shows that it's not just about being overcrowded. People love to say India is overpopulated, but check this out. The Netherlands is actually more densely populated. And why is that possible? Because just like the Indo-Gangetic Plain, it's incredibly flat, fertile, and has tons of water. In fact, they're the second biggest agricultural exporter in the world. It just proves that high-quality land can support a very high density of people. So India didn't just get one lucky break. It basically hit the geographic jackpot with a triple threat combo. You have the massive fertile plain, that's number one. Number two, you have the Himalayas, which people call the third pole because of all the ice, feeding countless rivers all year long. And third, those same mountains act like a giant wall, blocking freezing winds from the north and trapping all that good monsoon rain. That combination is just incredibly rare. And look, this isn't some new idea we just came up with. People have known about this abundance for ages. More than 2,000 years ago, a Greek ambassador named Megasthenes wrote about it. He saw that India could get 2 harvests a year, not just one. That meant food security, and that meant you could support a much larger population. Okay, so right about now you might be thinking, hold on a minute. If India's geography is so great, why did China have a bigger population for the last couple hundred years? And that is an excellent question. The answer lies in a dark chapter of history that basically put an artificial cap on India's natural growth. Between 1770 and 1947, under British colonial rule, India suffered from over 24 catastrophic famines. Now, these weren't caused by drought or crop failure. The land was still fertile. They were caused by brutal economic policies that shipped food out of the country. The first big one in 1770 killed 10 million people, a third of Bengal's population. All told, these man-made famines killed well over 30 million people. So what happened after independence in 1947? The moment those artificial breaks were taken off, the population boomed. It shot back up, doubling in just 34 years, supported by its natural advantages and new programs like the Green Revolution. And what's really crucial is this: there has not been a single major famine in India since independence.
So that brings us to today. And after that huge period of catch-up growth, the story is changing yet again. Because right now, India's population is naturally slowing down and heading toward stabilization.
This chart right here is the key. It's the total fertility rate, basically the average number of kids a woman has. To keep a population stable, you need a rate of 2.1. India's rate is now 1.9, which is below the replacement level. This means after peaking sometime in the next few decades, India's population is actually projected to start shrinking. But, and this is a huge but, that incredible geographic gift, the very foundation that has supported billions of people for millennia, is now in serious danger. The Himalayan glaciers that are the source of those great rivers, they're melting at a terrifying speed. The monsoons, the lifeblood of the farms, they're becoming erratic and totally unpredictable. The groundwater that we've been relying on is being pumped out way faster than nature can refill it. The entire system, the engine of this civilization, is under enormous stress. And that leaves us with a final, pretty sobering question, doesn't it? The very geography that blessed this land with an almost unfair advantage for thousands of years is now incredibly vulnerable. The big question for all of us is whether this incredible natural inheritance will be protected, or if the challenges that we've created ourselves will end up turning that ancient blessing into a future curse.